our last sessions, like we have seen a different networks, right? Like where we have seen ResNet, DenseNet, and then like LXNet, so on. Like we have seen the evolution of like CNN architectures at one point, and in that, like if you observe, there is a layer called LRN, which was a batch normalization layer, which has been used in many starting from inception, I guess. Like they started using that layer in most of the networks. And so actually this normalization layer will help you in regularizing your like model. So let's discuss about like what different regularizations or normalizations are sorry, what different normalization layers are available. Okay, so let's discuss that today. Okay, so actually, if you see, we used to do a normalization through data, right? So then what we have done, like in case if you have features, uh, okay, so we used to bring all the features. Let's say if you have 100 features, okay, so in your data, so all these features we used to bring all of them into same scale, right? So within the scale of like 0 to 1 or -1 to 1. So this is how like we used to do it. Like for doing this, what we used to do is like maybe do one thing like separate mean from your data and then divide by standard deviation, or maybe we used to divide it by like max minus min. So we used to use one of these techniques to like bring your data, all your features in terms of like 0 to 1. The similar thing will apply here. So in case if it is data level, right, so this is at data level, what we used to do earlier. Similarly, but in case if you are passing through batches, okay, so your data, you won't be like, let's say if you have a huge data set, maybe some like lakhs and lakhs of data. So for lakhs and lakhs of data, is it possible to calculate mu and standard deviation? The computation itself will be very huge, right? In that case, you have to load the entire data set at once, and for that entire data set you should be calculating mean and you should be calculating a standard deviation. So that actually won't be like a simple task. Actually, like that will be very computationally intensive. So that's why in those kind of scenarios where like we can't load the whole data at a time, what we used to do is we used to use batches, right? So in if it is a huge data, so in that data we used to split into batches, and each batch we used to give for training, right, and getting and optimizing it. So and then second batch, then third batch, like this we used to do like this for training. Similar way, even for normalization we can follow the similar method. So where you will have instead of a complete data like mean, you will be having a mini batch. So in this case, like batch mean, so what will happen is it will only try to calculate a mean from those batches. Okay, so each batch wise, like this batch have this mean. Okay, maybe you take like 32 numbers. Okay, so this 32 I like values will get this mean, and similarly you will calculate one more mean next time, and taking those mean and standard deviation. Similarly, you can calculate if it is just 32 data points or like 64 data points, then it is not so huge to calculate mean and standard deviation, right? So we use these, and from these values you will calculate mean and standard deviation for just these particular batch. Okay, and these batch will be using it to shift your data, like use this to shift that batch. So and then you will be getting these values. So and then you will be scaling those values, and that scaled values you will be passing to the model for training. Then this is for one first batch. Then second batch comes again, you'll be calculating mu for second batch. If this is for first batch, similarly for second batch, you calculate a mean and standard deviation as well. And from that, you normalize the second batch and then pass to model. So likewise, every iteration, like for every iteration where you take like chunk of data, like some batch of data, and for that you calculate your mean and standard deviation, and then use it for normalizing the data, and then use it for training. So this is how like it is done. Okay. So, but once this is done, this is fine till here, right? So actually what you're doing is, so here let me see like actually like what will be done. So we call it like batch normalization, this concept. Let me call this concept as batch normalization. Okay. So in this batch normalization, what actually happens is like this. So we calculate mini batch mean, and let's say this is your mini batch mean, and similarly sigma is your standard deviation for like the same batch. And then what you do is like xi, like this is the normalized one, will be replaced by x minus b by uh, actually there is a formula they actually use, because this we use in denominator, right? So instead of because there may be chance that this will go zero sometimes, so we add small value here. So sigma square is a variance, right? So if you put a root over it, so it will be standard deviation. So before adding it, like we add a small value here, so that like denominator is not one. Okay. So minor, very 0.0001, something like this. Okay. So taking this value, instead of using this in batch normalization, what will be done is like they do a scaling and shifting to it. So instead of passing xi, they will pass some other value z, maybe if you take zi, which will be some gamma into xi plus beta, some multiplication where you scale it, and then this using some plus one or minus one or some value here will do some shifting to it. Okay. So this way we will send, instead of the value of x, instead of passing this value, we will be passing this value to it. So this is your input to batch normalization. This will happen, like this will be the output of your batch normalization layer. So in case if you call a batch normalization layer like within TensorFlow or like PyTorch, so it will do this computation and it will pass the output accordingly. Okay. So okay, now it is fine, right? So why actually we need this scaling and shifting is, so this needs in case, because like our mean and standard deviation, right? So after that we will assume that like it will be after normalization, your mean and standard deviation will be like almost a mean will be zero, and then standard deviation will be near to one, right? So this is what is expected from your data. But maybe in case if it is not like this, then this scale and shift where we are adding two more parameters which are again learnable. Okay. So this will get learned like automatically, it will adjust while using like while training your model. This will also have values. So like from that what will happen is, this will scaling and shifting will make sure that your mean and like standard deviation are towards like 0 and 1. So which makes our network perform better. Okay. So with this, what will happen is actually what we are actually getting from, so in case if we have some conv layer, some layer, one more conv layer, and then you put this batch normalization layer, I'm representing it with bn, and then use few more layers, what will happen is, so here after, because we mostly use ReLU activation, right? So ReLU activation will pass the value like 0, and if it is less than 0 it will be 0, and it is greater than 0 it will pass the same value. So let's say it has 100 here as output, so it will pass this 100. So we have output values like which are 100, 200, something like this. But we found that when your output is like nearer to when your output like input values are towards like within 0 1 and -1 to 1, it will perform better, right? So what this will do is this will this batch normalization layer will scale these values with 1 to 1 or like 0 to 1. So in this case, what will happen? So we'll be getting a better values, right? So here, these weights will be learned much better way. These weights will get learned much better way because we are adding this batch normalization layers in most of these, like between two layers, like we'll adding this, and then the usually the number like values will stay like these output activations will stay within like 0 to 1, and like we'll be avoiding a problem avoids gradient diminishing, or there is one more problem of gradient exploding. So sometimes what happens is, so while you are training without doing any normalization and all, like your outputs will go like infinite, so it will be very very large. Okay, so in that way, like your gradients will also go large because ReLU will not scale your values between 0 and 1, right? Sigmoid, if it is a sigmoid, then you'll get values between 0 and 1, so then it is okay. But if you use ReLU, then what value you give, like it will start taking the same value. So if you don't do normalization, your values may go somewhere like beyond a reach, right? So in that cases, you will get infinite loss and such kind of problem. That will be a kind of a gradient exploding problem. So to avoid that, what we do is add this batch normalization layers wherever necessary. Okay. So that is about batch normalization. But okay, now we have seen this, but there is like small loophole in this. Okay, like there is a small disadvantage by using this method. So what that is so actually having mean and standard deviation of whole data would always be better, because if you take small batches. Okay, let me give some sample of example. So 1 2 3 4 100, 200, 300, 500, 1000, 10,000. So if your data is varying huge, okay, so this way, so first you take this batch and you take your mean as something like what it will be, like it will be 2.5. And if you take like this, your mean is something like 200. If you take like this, your mean is something around 5,000 or 6,000 or something like this. Okay, let me give a rough value. So your each batch wise, your mean is varying like so much, right? So but what you assume is like your mean should, if what actually is assumed is like while taking this batch mean, so you assume that your 32 data points will represent a similar mean and standard deviation to your huge data set. So it we assume that like these are similar. So that is a kind of assumption which we have taken, and we did this normalization, right? So this actually will fail in case if your data is varying so much. So actually but what we do is we do a kind of a random shuffling, right? So we assume that this random picking, in case if your data is like this, okay, so you randomly pick and get a kind of batches, right? So if you plot only these crosses, so this is what we have picked out of all your data. So if you represent that, so this will also be somewhat similar to that, and this will also have same mean and standard deviation like your value. But this is not always true, right? So because we are doing it randomly, mostly it will try to get the same representation of what actual data is, but this won't be always true, right? There will be minor changes, like you won't be getting exactly the same. So in that case, what we do is using a smaller batch size. In case if you take only a smaller batch size like 4 or 16 or something, then what will happen, the mean calculated with these four will be slightly different from, like if you take like 16 objects, this may represent your data much better, right? So let's say you have so many values, okay, 7 8 9 10. Okay, if you take pick randomly, you pick two, I picked these two. Okay. Then for this, what is a mean? 4. Okay. So, but if you take whole here, what will be your mean? So it will be something like 55 by 10, it will be 5.5. Okay. If you take whole 10, then your mean is 5.5. If you take only these two, 2 comma 6, then your mean is 4. So if you take 4 samples, okay, I'm randomly picking 4 samples, which were 1, 3, 7, 9. Let me pick these four. So 1 plus 2 plus 7 plus 9. This is 3. This is 3, 10, 19, 19 by 4, which will be like nearer to 5, right? So almost towards 5. Okay. So which will be approximately 5. So you, when you take like 2 points, your mean is 4. When you take like more larger data set, like here you take only 1, 2 and 3. Okay. Or no, initially we took 2 and 6. Next we took 1, 2, 7, 9. So here we have taken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so on 10. So this is your actual mean, right? So 5.5. Here, like if you take like batch size 2, what happens? Your mean is given as 4. And when you increase your batch size, when you take a larger batch size, then your mean is nearer to 5. So is this, these are like almost same, right? When you are taking a larger batch size, it is coming towards your actual mean. When you take a smaller batch size, this is far, right? So using a smaller batch size won't represent your actual mean. So when you go towards like larger and larger batch size, that will try to represent your complete population. Okay. So this is one point to remember. Using says represents data more accurately. Okay. So this is one point. So should not use small batch size. When you are using batch normalization, use larger batch size as possible. So we can't get like 100, 200 batch size, right? Because our computation is also limited. So we take a kind of batch size which is somewhat okay to compute, like which doesn't overload your machine, and also it is quite large comparatively. Okay. So this is about like batch normalization. So apart from this, there are few techniques like which are like kind of other normalizations. Let's discuss about that. So one of them is this weight normalization. So what is this weight normalization? You can get that like from, in case if you have these layers, right? So if you take like input layer and you pass it to few layers, and then you finally get an output. It can be a convolution layer, it can be any layer. Okay. It can be just an fully connected layer, or maybe like this. So in this, the in case if you normalize the weights, okay, of these values, okay, of your layers. So because your layers, within the layers, you will have like different variation, right? So you may have like 101 point, or point 1 or 1 point, and this may vary within your layer. It may vary so much, right? So what you do is these weights, you do a normalization in every iteration, so that will converge your data more faster. So what it will help is like it doesn't allow it to explode some values like very high and get very low in some cases. Instead it tries to make the values uniformly within like 0 to 1 or -1 to 1. And so actually it will try to converge much better way. So it doesn't explode the data like when you multiply with these values. In case if you have 100, okay, and your data input data is somewhere like 1 or something, so your output will be 1000. So where you multiply by 1000 as weight, so your output will go 1000, and that 1000 will go to next one, where again if you have weights are like huge, again 1000, so it will multiply by 1000 in next layer, 1000. So like that it will explode. Okay. It will go to 10 power some, like 20, 10 power 30 something. So but actually your values usually won't be in that range, right? So what you try to do is do a kind of a normalization within the weights such that your values will try to, because like if you multiply only with something like 0.1 or maybe zero point 0.1 or 1, so here your values doesn't explode like this, right? So that is one major reason why we can also do a weight normalization. Okay, so apart from this is about weight normalization. So apart from this, there are also other methods. So one more is use a mean batch normalization plus weight normalization. So which means like the two things which we have discussed, right? So which is batch normalization and weight normalization. So both you can use together. Okay, this is one more thing where you like use like normalization as well as also use this weight normalization, which will improve even more. Okay, so in this case what will happen is in case if you use this batch normalization uh, without like just like using only use a subtraction here. So instead of normalizing by variance, just only use this like x minus just. So there is a method proposed here in this case, like what they were saying is, so mean batch normalization and weight normalization, where instead of like previously we used to do like this, right? So where you have something like this, so instead only do this part, you only subtract your mean and then pass it with your like weight normalization on top of it in layers. So if you do this way, actually what is happening is, so it is found to be robust even for smaller weight, smaller batch sizes. So because previously in the first method we had an issue that like a smaller batch size will have less accuracy, right? So the when once you use like mean batch normalization with weight normalization, even for smaller batch size, you will have, instead of less noise, let's write less noise instead of writing a robust. Okay, so it will have like less noise, like because here there is more noise, right? So here your mean is less, showing less than what actually it is, so there is an error difference. So that we can call it as a noise. So that noise is quite less here. Okay, so that is one way. Now this seems to be much better, right? So out of these two, so where we use this plus that. So but there are like other proposals as well, so where it is layer normalization. So what this layer normalization will do is, it will try to normalize across all the features. All features, and also actually in this case like it will be independent to the state computed across features. Okay, so what it will do is, so we do a kind of a normalization across inputs of all features, right? So you have usually if you it is only this one, like then you have some layers and layers together, right? So you also do a normalization across all layers. Okay, that is one more thing, so which can be used like similarly to the way like how we use like weight normalization, right? Similarly this is across the layers, you do the same and then use this layer. So this will also help, it is found to help like improve your model performance as well. So this is one more thing. So in this case, let's understand this with an example. So what we do is, earlier, what we used to do is like in case if you have a data, right? So x1, x2, x3, so on is your data points. So what we used to do is, in case if you have some data points here, so 10, 20, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, so on. So we used to normalize this separately, this separately, this separately, right? So you calculate mean for this and scale this value, calculate mean for this, scale this value, calculate mean, scale this value, so that each one will be within -1 to 1 or 0 to 1. Okay, and this will also be like this. So now it is slightly different here. So what we do is, in case let's consider a layer. Okay, like here we are discussing in terms of layer because it is layer normalization technique. So here what we do is, so here let's say you are sending an input from previous layer, you are sending some input like this. So this is not a batch wise, okay, like treat that like we are sending, this is a sample of your data at a previous layer. Okay, so and this is just sample one, means like data point one, let's treat it this way. And this one what we do is we calculate mean and standard deviation for this. Okay, so let me calculate, and what we do is we can calculate this for different data points. Similarly, you send one more data point to this. So what it can be is like something like this, 321,620, something like this, to the same layer. And similarly, after one more data point, you'll also be sending something like this, right? So maybe something like 625,131, something like this, and again you'll be sending. So this may be sample 3. So taking these, so what you do is you calculate your mean and standard deviation, because normalization means like a calculation of mean and standard deviation, right? So previously what you used to do, like this, if it is like x1, this is x2, this is x3, this x1, this x1, and this x1, we used to do a kind of a calculate mean from these three, right? But here it is quite reverse. So from the data what you have, right? So same data points what I wrote there, right? Let me write it here. So and 625,131. So okay, by using this you calculate mean and standard deviation for each point here. It means actually when you are doing this, you calculate mean for this separately, you calculate mean for this separately, you calculate mean for this separately. So like that, likewise. So here mean will be 212,451 by 6, it will be 2. And here similarly mean will be 3. Here similarly mean will be 3. Okay, so we use these as your means. Okay, and then you scale your data points. And with this you scale your input data what is coming over here, right? You do a normalization in this way. Previously we used to do this way, now we are doing it this way, and then scaling that after normalization pass to that layer. So this is called a layer normalization. Okay, so this is quite actually a kind of a transpose to what we used to do earlier. And but still like this is found to be like fruitful and give a better accuracies. So similarly, like just like how we have seen layer normalization now, right? So there is one more which is like instant normalization. So instant normalization is similar to like what we have done, but it will do a normalization across channel. So channel in the sense like if you have your data like this, right, you also have your depth here, right? So and this depth it will try to normalize across these channels. Okay, so that is what across the depth you can say. So that is what instant normalization will do. This will actually help you in making a better like actually this is used more for uh, a kind of neural style transfer. Like this is one kind of use case like which will be used for neural networks in these kind of problems. Like usually people use instant normalization. What it will do is it will make the network independent of the contrast of image. Okay, so because like you are making each of the channel independent, right? Because by doing a normalization, so it doesn't do much impact. And also in this case like what it will do is by using like and GANs as well, like it will be used in GANs as well. So like these two it will it has found to have like better performance. Okay, this is about instant normalization. So similarly these are so many, right? So what they are like actually they have experimented with each and every kind of a combination. So like there is one more thing, group normalization. So till now layer normalization and these are independent, right? Now what they have done is they have combined both, where you do both layer normalization and also instance normalization. So if you do both of these, that is like known as like group normalization. So group normalization layer will do both of these, and this is found to be much better compared to a previous case. So actually previously what used to happen is, by doing like layer normalization, all channels are like equally important, but usually the corner of image will have like activation, less activations in usual case. But by doing this, we are going to solve that issue and doing a normalization here. So okay, so that is how actually like this will help. And next, coming to the next part, so there is one more batch renormalization. So what happens is, uh like, did we get this issue right? Actually, so while training, we are saying that we are going to scale mu and sigma. We'll be calculating for each batch size, we'll be calculating this mu and sigma, right? But while testing, what will you do? So that is one, right? So while you are predicting it, or like while you are using it real time, what mu and sigma will you use? So this is a question, right, we have. So because without scaling, if you use, like, you won't be getting a exact answer, you won't be getting an accurate answer, because you should be scaling and then giving to the model. But what will you scale? Because if you say like you have batch sizes like this, what will happen is, like, let's say you have few batches like this, okay, and so on. So, and these batches, in case each batch, like, you are having different means, right? mu1, mu2, mu3, mu4, and similarly sigma 1, sigma 2, sigma 3, sigma 4. So these are there, but what will you use while prediction? So we know that, like, in case if you are using the whole data, so you calculate entire, like, mu for entire data set, and sigma for entire data set, and use those to scale your new data, right? So kind of a prediction data, you'll be using that to scale for prediction data. But here we can't calculate the mean of entire data set, because, like, it's entire in the sense, like, the training data set, because we actually that because it is huge and we can't load all the data at a time, so that is not possible. So that is the reason we went for this batch normalization, right? So where we take only means for each and then do normalization. But then what will you do in case of, like, what you call inference or prediction? We can call with both any of these names. So in this case, what you do is, instead of taking like one, like, you actually have many, right? So mu3, mu4. So what will you take is, you take a moving average of these values, and which will actually represent you a better estimate of your mean. I mean, like, you can take an average on top of it, and that will be your mean, which can be nearer to true estimate of your mean. So this is actually true mean, right? So actual mean and standard deviation. Maybe take an average of these, like a moving average of these, so which will actually represent closer to your uh, actual mean. So that is one way which people use to do inferencing on top of it. This is really important, because, like, if you just do a training and then don't do any kind of normalization on top of a prediction, right? So then that will create a problem. It doesn't actually give you proper outputs. So actually, this moving average, we do it only while doing a difference. Okay. So along with this, there are like few other techniques. Like, let me quickly introduce those as well. So it's again a kind of a combination of normalization. So where you take batch normalization and instant normalization, and take both of them combined. So which will be a kind of like we call it like batch instant normalization, where you use batch normalization as well as instance normalization. So instance normalization, usually we use it for like robustness with to contrast of image. So if you use like data with like different context, right? So maybe a kind of like you have taken a photo in a dim light and you have taken a photo in a like rainy season or in a sunny, so you'll be having a difference in your contrast in your image, right? So to make it robust to those kind of variation in contrast, you can use this instant normalization. Okay, so that will be helpful for that. So if you use a combination of both, it will be much better. So that is what has been proven here. So we can use this, or maybe a kind of a combination of these two, a kind of a weighted thing of these two. How much of this like how much of this batch normalization should be a kind of a weight for this. So this is for batch normalization one, and there is a row again for like instant normalization. You can take a weighted sum of this, like maybe zero point 0.5 means like half this, and then you can use it for both batch instant normalization, or you can also have scaling right again into beta. So this is one way, like you can keep this configure this parameter to some value, and depending on that it will change. And we can also actually like this we can keep it learned again, a kind of a new parameter which is learnable through a gradient descent or like the optimizer algorithm. Okay, so this is one way. Okay, we have seen like so many till now, right? So similarly, like there is one more thing actually, what will be used like at what point. So each of them are actually useful for each of a different normalization is useful for one purpose, right? So but you don't need instant normalization towards the end layers, because you will need it only like usually this contrast of image in case if you are robust at input layers, so why do you need it at layers later? So we won't be needing it. So similarly, batch normalization may be needed anywhere, like that is okay. And layer normalization usually they try to have towards the end. So what will happen is, so we have these three main, right? So instance normalization, batch normalization, and layer normalization. So what is this switching normalization is actually a combination of these three. We kind of have a learnable parameter like combination W1 plus W2 plus W3, and then make it learn the weights. Okay, and use this as a final output. Kind of here how we have combined these two, right? So similar to that, we can do the same here. But actually, what we need is this. We need it during initial layers, because at the input level itself we'll be needing this robustness to contrast, or maybe the channel wise robustness. And batch norm usually if you need have it in middle layers, it will be good actually, because initially we anyway give a normalization normalized input, right? So after doing a normalized input for few layers, it may not explode so much. Like after some layers, if you give this patch norm, it will make sure that your values are not exploding, are coming back to -1 to 1, and then you can give it again. And this layer normalization, you go for later layers. So towards last layers, you will be using this layer normalization. So this is a way like we can use it. Okay. So this is what like maybe this is one crucial important out of all these things, like when to use what, that because like there are like so many which we have discussed till now, and this may raise a doubt like what will be useful, we can't use all, right? So this is one thing like which can be used, or this is implemented as a switchable normalization, where it will be a combination weighted average of all these three, and it will be learnable automatically. Your network will give more weights towards initial layers to initial instant normalization, and more weights to middle layer between for batch normalization, and so on. Okay, it will automatically learn if you give a combination like this. So this is about all these layers here, all these norm. So okay, like so these are about like all the normalizations available. We can like use this layer like maybe according to this what we have given, right? So we can use this actually for getting a better output. So maybe let me write it here: weighted average of instant, batch, and layer. normalization. Okay, so that is this one, and this is finally what usually people need to use for getting a better performance. And yeah, this is about normalization different normalization techniques. Okay.